What do you normally fight in a boss battle? A dragon? A mech? A Gary Oak? A Gary Oak mech? Boring. Especially compared with the extremely rare and precious occasions where you get to fight against the character you played in a previous game from the series. These emotionally charged battles let you go toe-to-toe with the only adversary you know for sure in a game is going to kick your butt because you played a whole game as them already. And you seem to recall quite a lot of butts were kicked. Here are the boss fights where you fought against you, but from a previous game. Beware spoilers for the following.
I will not cower as I did before Catan. Finish it. Kill me.
Jaden, stop! Don't get in my way, Kyle!
Of all the characters rendered non-canon when Disney bought Star Wars, the hardest loss to bear was that of Kyle Katarn. Hear more Mount Sorrow, the sentient crying mountain who lives on Endor. R.I.P. Kyle Katarn was the butt-kicking hero you played as in 1995's Star Wars Dark Forces, a mercenary fighting for the rebels who would later prove to have leanings of the Jedi variety.
The Force is strong with Katarn.
Cue several brilliant sequels that followed Kyle's increasingly beam-swordy adventures, teaming up with none other than Luke Skywalker to serve it out to stormtroopers one by one, or sometimes at higher rates in cases where Kyle finds an airlock button. It's hilarious, but it's also efficient. It's also maybe a war crime? Kyle is such a resilient badass throughout the Jedi Knight series that the idea of fighting him is not something anyone would relish, and yet this is precisely one outcome that you can incur in the last game in the series, Jedi Academy. In this one, you play a young Padawan training under the Great Master Katarn, alongside your insufferable rival Rosh.
Jaden, you have a right to be angry, but believe me when I say you don't want to feed that emotion.
I understand, Master Katarn. Apology accepted, Rosh.
Good, that's settled. And remember, it's Kyle?
Yes, Kyle. Sure thing, Kyle.
As the adventure unfolds, you have the choice whether to stay on the path of the Jedi or to fall to the dark side. Although if you ask us, it's not much of a choice, seeing as A, one side's force powers are significantly cooler, and B, only one of those choices lets you kill Rosh.
I was wrong. No, you were weak. Jaden, no! Ah!
And that's the dark side? Well, if skewering Rosh is wrong, I don't want to be right. Choose the dark side, and Kyle will of course become your enemy and the true final boss of the game, encountered after you murder a fanatic called Tavion and claim her scepter, a weapon with the power to resurrect an ancient Sith Lord. A plot detail that will quickly seem vanishingly unimportant compared to the fact you're about to throw down with Kyle Katarn, the unstoppable hero of all the Jedi Knight games up until now.
I can't let you do this, Jaden.
Then stop me, Master.
The boss battle against Katarn is, as you would expect, absolutely nails. Kyle using all the tricks he mastered in the series to date to acrobatically and effortlessly carve you up like a festive ham. But of course, Kyle also knows how to brawl, capable of wrong-footing you with a grab-and-throw combo. Perhaps a nod to his pre-Jedi mercenary days, or perhaps he's just been watching a lot of DJ Jazzy Jeff getting thrown out of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's house.
I am your master.
It's very, very probable that Kyle will kill you in this boss fight, very probably more than once.
You should have listened to me.
But if you do manage to beat him, you make your escape, crushing Kyle non-fatally under a pile of rubble, having broken none of his bones perhaps, but certainly his heart.
I misjudged him. I'm sorry, Kyle.
I failed both my students, Luke.
The most tearful scene in Star Wars since Mount Sorrow wept its healing tears to cure Teebo the Ewok. Okay, maybe Disney had a point with some of this stuff.
Portrait of Ruin is the name of a Castlevania game for the Nintendo DS handheld, and also the name of my iPhone photos folder of post-pub selfies. We're concerned with the former today, though. Set in 1944, the opening crawl of Portrait of Ruin explains that the anguish of those killed in the Second World War has caused Dracula's castle to appear, as if mankind didn't have enough to worry about. Luckily, Dracula and all other vampires have met their match in hero Jonathan Morris, a descendant of the Belmont clan of legendary slayers of old. To confirm his legendary bloodline, Morris is able to wield the vampire killer whip, a weapon with a lot of history, being as it was the weapon flicked menacingly about by Simon Belmont in the very first Castlevania game. Then in later game, Rondo of Blood, Vampire Killer has been passed down to the strong, supple hands of Richter Belmont, Simon's descendant who uses the whip, as well as other iconic Castlevania weapons like an axe hurled in a parabolic arc to make mischief among Dracula's goons. Jonathan Morris, though, has a problem. In his hands, the whip is less Vampire Killer and more Vampire Annoyer. Because not being a Belmont means the Vampire Killer Whip is less effective when used by Jonathan, unless you, the player, decide to have Jonathan undergo a trial to unlock its potential, which means facing off against the whip's memory of the warrior who wielded it last. And that warrior is... it's only chuffing Richter Belmont! That's right, as if having Dracula as an enemy wasn't bad enough, Jonathan must fight Rondo of Blood protagonist Richter in an epic vampire slayer face-off. Or at least to be accurate, we should say the Vampire Killer Whip's memory of Richter. Though, to be fair, the whip seems to have recollected its previous owner with striking clarity, as this fearsome Richter looks and fights exactly like he did in his own game, axes and all. Impressively, the whip has even remembered how Richter's face-melting theme music goes, so you, the player, can enjoy that shredding away in the background while Richter shreds up your pretty face in the foreground. The battle against Richter is tough, but the old warrior and his whip do seem to be rooting for you, at least going by Richter's final words should you eventually bring him down. Counting on us to use the powered-up Vampire Killer to whip toads to death, Richter? Because that's what we'll be doing.
Darksiders was a very intense game where you played as actual horsemen of the Apocalypse War, so you can see why, for the sequel, they decided to calm things down a little bit with new protagonist, Death. Oh. Death is a hulking, masked scythe wielder with an oddly muscular and sinewy torso, and an oddly muscular, sinewy horse to match, summonable with the left and right bumper buttons. Which makes sense because Death is, of course, another horseman of the apocalypse, although unfortunately he has to spend most of the game on foot, wrecking up monsters with Reaper scythes and other ludicrous weapons. On the plus side, you can at any point press the left and right bumpers to make Death say this is no place for a horse, which once you find that out, good luck not doing it whenever Death walks into any new environment.
This is no place for a horse.
Like he's trying to go on an epic quest to save his imprisoned brother War, but keeps getting distracted because he's also scoping out acreage to build a ranch.
This is no place for a horse.
Yeah, focus up, Death. Early in Death's journey, he confronts the Crow Father, looking for help in proving that War is innocent of setting off the apocalypse ahead of schedule. The Crow Father is less than helpful, however, because rather than offering Death aid, he transforms into Death's brother for a boss fight against... uh-oh. As epic confrontations go, this one's up there. For an early game boss battle, War is no slouch, especially on harder difficulties, with aggressive moves that are tough to dodge out the way of, and a range of attacks as broad as his famous sword, Chaos Eater, familiar to anyone who played Darksiders 1 and who fondly remembers seeing War use its flaming magic to knock 7 bells out of angels and demons alike. This version of War may only be an illusion, but it's still a thrilling and above all nostalgic showdown, as Death is forced to fight and kill a flawless mimic of his brother, the hero of the first game in the series. Emotional stuff. What do you say after something like that?
This is no place for a horse.
It's a big field, Death. This is exactly the place for a horse. I don't know what else you want.
Is this feeling?
Aqua goes the extra mile in Kingdom Hearts. Not only does she have spiky hair, but she also has spiky ankles. Dang, run past Donald too fast and she could turn him into duck pate. She made her first playable appearance in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, alongside Terra and Ventus, who between all three of them probably have enough gel in their hair to grease up an entire Victorian factory.
Huh?
However, she was also given her own adventure in Kingdom Hearts 0.2: Birth by Sleep - A Fragmentary Passage. Still somehow easier to remember than Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. In Kingdom Hearts 0.2, Aqua fought her way through Dark World, a twisted land full of heartless, wibbly-looking monsters who were dead set on making Aqua, well, dead. Not only that, but she even has to deal with a shadow version of herself. But if you thought that was the last time you'd be fighting Aqua, think again. This is Kingdom Hearts we're talking about. It never ends. It's still going. Help. See, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 0.2: Birth by Sleep - A Fragmentary Passage, Aqua gets stuck in that land of darkness while helping Mickey Mouse fight off a bunch of Heartless. Sadly, when Mickey finally returns to save her in Kingdom Hearts 3, she's been what the fans call naughted.
You're too late.
Aqua?
What happened?
You abandoned me. That's what.
Yup, her eyes have gone all yellow, which means she's been possessed by Ceres' big bad, Xehanort. Now you must fight her first as Riku, and then as Sora, who falls in through a door in the sky.
Huh?
I made it!
Why did he fall through a door in the sky?
Look, I played it and I still don't know what the f is going on here. Aqua met both Riku and Sora as children, so this is a really tough and meaningful battle for everyone involved, which is why, naturally, Sora juggles Aqua in the air with a giant light-up fairground pirate boat ride. It just really gets you in here. Fortunately for you, hitting her with a giant boat frees her from the land of darkness, probably because it was smacked out of her by a bunch of 80-watt bulbs. Donald, I know you're pleased to see her, but be careful of the ankles. We don't want to lose you.
Everyone in Dark Souls is obsessed with fire. crouching at bonfires, hurling fireballs, being literally made out of fire. Honestly, we'd say it was a little weird, except this is Dark Souls. Everything and everyone is a little weird.
Thought you could outwit an onion.
Man, where's one of those fireballs when you really need it? This is because they're all living in the Age of Fire, a state of affairs brought about by Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, the final boss of Dark Souls 1, who prolonged this era by sacrificing himself to kindle something called the First Flame. And what's the thanks he gets? You and millions of other Dark Souls players jabbing him with swords. After which you, and again a million other Dark Souls players, may choose to continue Gwyn's legacy by linking the fire yourself. No, wait, come back. We promise that's all the Dark Souls lore you need to understand the rest of this video. We cool? Alright then. So let's skip ahead many years to the final boss of Dark Souls 3, the Soul of Cinder, who, like Gwyn before it, is the guardian of that first flame, specifically an amalgamation of everyone who linked the flame in ages past, which is to say, you, the player, aka the chosen undead, from the previous games. For proof of this, look no further than its fighting technique, which shifts mercurially between 4 movesets, or perhaps builds is the appropriate word, seeing as these stances are a clear nod to some of the most popular fighting techniques used by Dark Souls players themselves over the years. This strength build sees Soul of Cinder attacking with devastating sword blows, strong enough to overwhelm even the sturdiest of defences. But expect it to abruptly switch to using a curved sword, firing off pyromancies, and acrobatically leaping around very much like a character that's put all its points into dexterity. Magic users are represented too in phases where Soul of Cinder busts out a great lance to cast miracles, or fires out health bar ruining spells while wielding a magic wand. Or Catalyst, as Dark Souls prefers to call it. Magic wand. Eventually, Soul of Cinder stops imitating you and starts imitating Gwyn from the first game, but it's a brilliant touch that this first phase of the battle against Soul of Cinder pays homage to you, the player, and all the other Dark Souls players of the past. Having battled through the series, feeling like everything is stronger than you, it's neat to be on the other side of that and realise actually, you were probably the most terrifying thing in the game all along. We'd be flattered if we weren't so on fire and dead.
The Starlight Network is a mere front for a plan to launch a nuclear satellite into space. VSSE has dispatched 2 agents to prevent the launch. Keith Martin, Robert Baxter.
It's not easy being a Time Crisis protagonist. Take Time Crisis II hero Keith Martin, for instance, who, while on the job for the VSSE agency, is expected to leap out of cover and gun down literally hundreds of heavily armed enemies, with only the world's strongest cafe chair to keep him safe from a hail of bullets. And when he's not being actively shot at, he must endure something even more painful: these cutscenes.
I knew it. These maniacs have got the military satellite. And they're moving it by train.
We better get going. There's no time to lose.
But worse than any of this is the sure knowledge that Keith will never match the effortless cool of his predecessor, Time Crisis I hero Richard Miller, who is every bit as deadly and whose cutscenes, it must be said, are quantifiably cooler.
It's time for the one-man army. Richard Miller.
He also has the advantage of not being called Keith Martin, which, you know, helps. Richard Miller's cool jacket, flawless hair, and knack for staring dispassionately at explosions cast a long shadow. So imagine how poor Keith must have felt when he learned that in Time Crisis 2's console-only bonus missions, the very final, very toughest battle in the game would be against none other than Richard Miller, showing up to assist you with your training because he's just that nice. As befits his status, Miller is almost impossibly quick, dancing around the shipping containers that make up the field of battle like a greased cat with a handgun. The battle is a gunfight for the ages, both protagonists rolling and dodging in a test of pure skill and reflex, and a clear reminder of why Ricky M was such a force to be reckoned with in Time Crisis 1. In a way, seeing a clash like this is its own reward, but if you do manage to beat Richard Miller, you earn something much more valuable: his respect. Keith, see that you never wash that shoulder again.
Do you ever wonder what game protagonists do with the rest of their lives after they've saved the world?
No.
Not even...
No, you're weird.
Well, maybe it's best not to ponder, because one game does indeed give us a glimpse of a very beloved hero long after their realm-rescuing heyday. And guess what? It's incredibly sad. That game is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, a game that, like almost all the other Zelda games, sees hero Link as the bearer of the Triforce of Courage, saving the land of Hyrule from Ganon's evil power, mostly through heroic sword combat and occasionally through goat herding. But mostly through heroic sword combat. To help him on this front, Link can track down a spectral white wolf in several spots around Hyrule. A wolf who, once found, will transport you to an ethereal plane where a mouldy old skeleton lies in wait. In fact, this moss-covered monster wants to teach you new sword techniques, and admittedly it's a stretch to call these brief repeated ruckuses a boss fight. It's more like boss fight training. But we couldn't resist including it in this video since the secret of your skeletal tutor is an absolute bombshell. Or at least it is since the publication of Hyrule Historia, the 276-page tome of official Zelda lore that's so massive it wouldn't fit in my bag today to bring to the studio. So you'll just have to imagine a great big book. Oh, dusty. Ooh. Page 118 of the book reveals that the skeletal being you fight in Twilight Princess is none other than Link himself from a previous game, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. At the end of Ocarina of Time, with Ganon defeated, Zelda uses the ocarina to send Link back in time to when he was a child near the start of the game. Our last vision is of child Link seeking out young Zelda, presumably to warn her and stop the terrible events that occur when Ganondorf seizes power. The Historia states that since returning to the child era, the hero of time lamented the fact that he wasn't remembered as a hero, and that's why he's so desperate to fight you and thereby pass on some of his cool sword techniques, which explains some of his melancholy dialogue. Of course, it doesn't explain why he can talk now, why he has a single glowing Terminator eye, or crucially what occurred in the intervening years to turn him into this moss-covered, skull-faced warrior. But it's a staggeringly dark, canonical end to Child Link's journey that is fascinating to ponder. What mysterious power could turn a person like Link into a mouldy old skeleton?
Dying?
Sorry, are you not busy today?
Well, apparently, Luke doesn't think I'm busy, just thinks, maybe I've just got other things that I could be doing instead of this, so why even bother doing an outro? Like, why even bother telling you that we've got other videos that you can go watch, or that you can go subscribe, or that you can like this video to help us out? I mean, what's the point?